It's no secret that the vast majority of artists, in particular illustrators, are leftists, deranged, if you will. Well, in my search for some kind of conservative artist, or at least a non-leftist one, I came across this video by YouTuber Anna Reads Everything, who was doing a review on a book by Stephen Pressfield, novelist, and she proceeded to use the video as a means, or she proceeded to use the book as a means to explain why conservative art sucks. And so I had a lot of opinions. All right, so voiceover time, because this part got damaged during the editing. I'm not going to be playing the entire video. I'm only going to be addressing the main points that she uses to support her argument. So I do encourage you to go to her channel and just watch the video yourself. Also, because I can't imagine that staring at my face for however long this thing takes is much entertainment. I'm gonna go ahead and throw time-lapse painting that I worked on recently for some of you ADD individuals, so you can have something to look at while you listen to me ramble on. All right, let's get this started.
Welcome. Modern art is weird. But you know what is even more weird? Classic art. Look, this is the birth of the Venus. It's a naked woman standing on a seashell in the ocean. And what about this guy in the left corner? He's making the wind with his mouth. How does any of that make any sense? Basque was living in 16th century. And what is that? Is that an owl swallowing the man? Why does it have a cattle on its head? What about a man doing gymnastics with the orange? Weird fountains? Weird people? A lot of naked butts? Don't you find it quite liberal for the 16th century painter?
No, I don't. Because you showed the Garden of Earthly Delights. You know, we just got started. Let's just push a little further.
Today I will be reviewing Artist's Journey by Stephen Pressfield, and I will try to answer the question, why is art so left? And more importantly, why is it impossible to make a nice conservative art? Why is none of the modern art right? Today I will try to...
So I'm thinking that she conflates conservative slash liberal artists with the art respectively. As in, there is no crossover when it actually happens all the time, right? Unintentionally. More often than not, it tends to happen during the storytelling. Most good stories, regardless of who wrote it, they tend to have value, like a lot of conservative values baked in. I have a feeling that she can't see past the surface level context of a painting. Anyway.
It can be music, it can be coding, it can be crafting. Stephen Pressfield says that every artist has a subject that lives inside them and is unique to them. Subject is not the same as topic. According to Pressfield, subject is not what the art is about, it is what it's really about. Modern art is often claimed to be meaningless, but I strongly disagree. With the development of science and technology, our modern art becomes more and more abstract, and I think these events are interconnected. Science and technology answer more specific and technical questions, which means that artists are left with more and more abstract questions to answer. According to Pressfield, job of the artist is to express the unknown, something that is not yet but will be. And is a...
Strongly disagree. And I know that she is quoting Pressfield here. However, an artist just filters the world through their lens, whether it is what will be, what was, what is, or something beyond time. It doesn't matter what you depict as long as it's good art, because in order for it to just be art, it requires two components, right? Skill and context. And in order for it to be good art, in my opinion, it requires skill, context, and I guess for lack of better words, impact. Skill is just a fundamental understanding and grasp of the craft and its execution. A context is just something to convey. Whether it is a question, an answer, a statement, or even a story, as long as it's saying something. Impact, is it compelling? Does it move you in any way? Does it convey an emotion? It doesn't matter if it's joy, sadness, awe, anger, fear, as long as you feel something. Take, for instance, Saturno devorando su hijo, which is Saturn devouring his son, by Francisco Goya. It is Goya's interpretation of the past, mythological past, but past nonetheless. When you look at the painting, it's weird, it's uncomfortable. It may even strike fear depending on how old you are. No matter what, it's good art. Porque si es Goya, tiene que ser bueno.
Return. But why is it so hard to find conservative modern art? Actually, there is some, but you might notice that conservative art is trying to go the opposite way and concentrate on the topic rather than on the subject. Modern conservative art will give you everything at one glance. What is the art about? What is the opinion of the author? And what should be your opinion about this particular topic on the picture? And you may think that the modern conservative...
Okay, see? See? I knew it. She cannot pick up on any context to her right that isn't just slapping you in the face with the message, right? And that kind of art just tends to be boring. So all the paintings that for her fall under the category of conservative, it's just gonna be bad art. Look at Noah Bradley's work. It's just masterful, right? And while I cannot speak to his personal or political views or values, what I can say, having met the guy, is that he doesn't strike me as a leftist, at least not a deranged one. When extrapolating meaning from his work, it almost always seems to lean right, especially his Sin of Man collection. After this video, do yourself a favor and go check it out if you appreciate art at all. If you don't, I don't know why you're here.
Maybe it even speaks beyond the viewer's heart. Let's move on to another interesting topic of this book, art's origin. Pressfield suggests that the art comes from the unknown, from superconscious, from divine, if you wish. In modern art, it is hard to define what the art actually is. But this was not always the problem. For example, USSR art, or art of Nazi Germany, was actually clearly defined, sponsored by the government, and displayed upon the governmental disposition. You can recognize Soviet art simply by looking at it. Usually there are simple lines, bright colors, big strokes, and simple, ginormous objects. Viewers are usually not that familiar with the Nazi Germany art, however, if you look at a couple of pieces, you'll be able to recognize the rest of them. Usually in the sculptures and paintings, they picture beautiful people with swords. Wonder what the Freud has to say about that. Authoritarian art usually shares a particular aspect, its objective and simple beauty. Modern conservative art shares the same aspect too. John McNaughton is one of the most recognized.
There is no such thing as authoritarian art. And this is not to say that art has not been used for authoritarian means. All through our history, art has been used to further movements and agendas, right? And this can often be discerned by thematic saturations within a particular era or region, which is not the same as an aesthetic saturation. In the modern Western world, where do you usually see this? Hollywood, mainstream media, which is overflowing with liberals. Unless your film or show doesn't feature minorities portrayed in a positive light, Mary Sue's, or the alphabet mafia, in particular those who have trouble understanding biology, your project just won't pass the purity test. These being the very same individuals that will tell you you need to listen to the government. It's for your own good. Seems to be checking a lot of authoritarian boxes if you ask me, but I'll let you decide lest the woke YouTube overlord smite me. Look, I'm new to this and I just don't know how to secure safe passage past the TOS. So I would like to provide my Ancestry.com results as an offering, and I hope it appeases the YouTube gods that my genetic makeup is that of an inner city public high school. 2/4 black, 30% brown, and just 20% white. Look, the Soviet Union work that she showed reminded me a lot of Harvey Dunn and even Dean Cornwell, right? So you are an illustrator painter, you know who I'm talking about. The clear lines, big shapes, bright colors that she was talking about, right? They're very reminiscent. And both men predate Nazi Germany and Soviet propaganda art. More importantly, these are just art fundamentals. And if we take all of her descriptions of the authoritarian art and bring it to the modern era, push the design and heavily commercialize it, you suddenly got 60% of all video game art. Here's why it feels very dishonest and even on purpose. She took what are basic art fundamentals and framed them as indicative of authoritarian regimes, and then proceeded to draw parallels with conservatives, which is what your usual Twitter deranged leftist tends to do. And then she decides to substantiate those statements with made-up facts. You know better than Steven Seagal.
To the authoritarian art. All of them have meaning, but this meaning is subverted. Every piece of this artwork is very easy to understand because it is rational. It does come from the head of the painter, sometimes from the heart, but never from the unknown. The meaning of their artwork is in plain sight. Every painting has a particular subject that is very clear to understand for the viewer. Artists know exactly what is the meaning of their work before they even start. And for me, this is not good art, this is just good planning.
Hold up, what?
This is not good art, this is just good planning.
All good art is the result of good planning because art cannot be created in a vacuum. But you know what? I'm not surprised by this statement. Based on her miscorrelations and fundamental misunderstanding of visual art in particular, arriving at this idea was inevitable. The context, whatever the art is going to say, already exists within the artist bursting at the seams. It is the responsibility of the artist to put it out there skillfully within the fundamental parameters of the craft. Because that's what creativity is, problem solving. In a way that it's unique to you. In spite of the rules, not in absence of them. The issue is that Pressfield is speaking from the point of view of a writer, where once you start writing, the words just pour out, seemingly out of nowhere. And Anna apparently correlates this with creating a painting without understanding that this state of flow typically happens after the composition has already been established, aka the planning.
Last topic of this book that impressed me and that I'm going to discuss today is the death of the author. As Steven Pressfield notes, art is timeless, but artist is disposable.
Again, this philosophy is a little different for stories and text than it is for visual art. And either way, it's just not correct. As a kid, I didn't like Picasso. As a matter of fact, the only reason I even knew who he was because the other kids used to use his name as a form of mocking. Whenever they would see me drawing anywhere, it's like, ooh, Picasso. So, but the real reason I didn't like who he was is because after finding out, it's like, who the hell is this Picasso guy? And then seeing nothing but his abstract work, I thought, like, this is dumb. It wasn't until I got older and took an interest in art history that I learned the man was a master, an absolute master. Knowing who the artist is especially important when you're learning. If you're on this path and you're doing it right and you're learning from professionals who are actually doing the work, you will be told typically to do master studies. right? Not masterpiece studies. This is because you have to know who the master is or who the master was. Art is one piece of the puzzle, but the artist is the other. If you only have one, you have incomplete information. A lot of the times you don't know what the art is supposed to say until you know who the artist is. Again, if you're an artist, take this advice. Do not be too precious with your art. Do not get too attached to it. It is your art that is disposable, not you. Because that mindset will just keep you from improving. Learn from the masters, preferably dead ones, and learn their names. There's a phrase that I love, and that is, we stand on the shoulders of giants. Have some goddamn respect for the legacy. Speaking of legacy, what kind of legacy are you gonna leave your family? None of us have the next day guaranteed, but every single one of us has a guaranteed last day. And when that day comes, we have to make sure that we leave our loved ones more than just a good set of values. That is what my business is dedicated to. Partner with top-rated life insurance carriers, my team and I help families protect their assets and loved ones every day. Head on over to We Protect Family Life. That is weprotectfamily.life. Fill up the short form, and either I or one of my agents will reach out to you with personalized life insurance options catered specifically to you. Because who the hell wants to sit for hours on a quoting site comparing products? Let us do it for you. The video was supposed to tell me why conservative art sucks, but I'm unconvinced. She prefaced her case by stating that artists were liberal even in the 16th century, and then provides the Garden of Earthly Delights triptych by Hieronymus Bosch as evidence. A triptych is a painting divided in 3 panels. In the first one, we have what seems to be the Garden of Eden, with nothing but just God, Adam and Eve, and some weird-looking animals frolicking about. Relatively peaceful. In the second panel, we have a field crowded by people doing all kinds of weird stuff. A land filled with debauchery, promiscuity, self-indulgence. You see it all in that panel. In the third and final panel, we have what is very obviously hell, or a Black Sabbath concert. Either way, heads are getting bitten off. Whether it is a panoramic depiction of Paradise Lost or just a moral warning, it should have been impossible to miss the context. Indulging yourself in a lifestyle of selfish desires will lead to one thing and one thing alone: an arrow up your butt. One of the points in her argument was that art has become more and more abstract, but honestly, the number just doesn't add up to me. The way that it works is that a small portion of artists will spend a lifetime mastering their work, a small number, and an even smaller number than that will push their work so far that they begin to deconstruct it. It's safe to say that those artists tend to be a little more advanced in age. Pre-COVID heart attack age. But so many of the modern abstract artists tend to be young or post-COVID heart attack age. Have they truly mastered their craft and pushed it to that level? Well, it turns out that after meeting so many of them at conventions and gallery showings, the majority have absolutely zero fundamentals in art or understanding of such. Therefore, their work becomes, by default, meaningless. Many pretentious individuals want to become artists without putting in the work. And it began the way it always begins, by changing the definitions of words. When art started to become subjective and no one could define it, a barrier of entry began to lower. By now, that barrier of entry has not only been lowered, it has been utterly obliterated, demolished. It's not a good thing. To be clear, I don't necessarily have a problem with abstract art. I have a problem with individuals seeking to deconstruct art without any comprehension and deliberate dismissal of what it actually takes to create good art. These individuals will look at paintings like Woman by the Window by Pablo Picasso or The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali and say, I can do that. No, you can't. Even when you look at who's considered one of the pioneers of abstract art, Mondrian, search back far enough through his work and you'll find that he was also a master. And look, if you're someone that wants to distill the essence of art, cool. First, learn how to make art. Because you cannot deconstruct something that you've never built. All right, so here is the finished painting. It's called The Entrepreneur. And yeah, hope you like it. And if you don't, well, it is what it is. You know, for all of my criticism of Anna's arguments and the video overall, I have to give credit where credit is due. I did go over some of her videos, and while a lot of her reviews sound like they're in an echo chamber, I do have to say her reading selection is not. And say what you will, in my opinion, that deserves credit. All in all, the video failed to convince me, so I pose a counterpoint. All good art is actually conservative. You know, the modern left will have you believe that to earn your keep, to work for what you want, is oppressive. Why should I work for a living? Why should I have to lose weight to be considered healthy? Why should I have to pay for a home in order to be able to live in it? So on and so forth. These and more are actual statements that I have heard from people that I know, that I personally know. We take this thought process and apply it to art, and you get questions like, why should I have to practice to be good at art? Why should I have to be good at art to be an artist? Well, then things like putting in the work, seeking and accepting criticism, taking responsibility to correct their mistakes, basically the discipline it takes to be better. According to the modern left parameters, all of these are diametrically opposed to liberal ideology. Therefore, good art is, by default, conservative, or at least not left. Now go out there and make some shit.